and cultural expectations with humor and heart. Opens January 23rd. alleytheater.org.
Rain tonight going into tomorrow, and then the freeze hits. Winter storm watch tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Extreme cold watch goes into effect tomorrow night at 6. Of course, we're going to be here for you, so keep it here. News 88.7 as well as HoustonPublicMedia.org. We're going to have all the issues with the power outages and roads as well. Speaking of roads, not too bad right now. Freeways are loosening up. It's KUHF Houston News 88.7. A service of the University of Houston. Humidity 100% right now. Winds out of the east at 10 miles an hour, 61 degrees right now. Houston Matters starts right now at 9 o'clock. Stick around.
How cold it gets Sunday morning down to the degree could dictate how much or how little of a mess we may have on our hands as wintry weather closes in. I'm Craig Cohen. Today on Houston Matters, the very latest from Space City weather meteorologist Eric Berger.
Houston Matters with Craig Cohen is a production of Houston Public Media with support from Baylor College of Medicine.
Also this hour, how CenterPoint Energy is preparing for the potential of downed lines or other reasons power could go out during the coming cold. We'll welcome your questions. Then, how Harris and Galveston counties are preparing and what other preparations are being made across the state of Texas, much of which could face far worse weather conditions than we'll get here. Plus, the impending cold weather even worms its way into this week's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We'll start with a news update from NPR and News 88.7. Stay with us.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Millions of people across the U.S. are bracing for a major winter storm. The National Weather Service has issued winter storm warnings from New Mexico to New England. Heavy snow, ice, and freezing rain are expected as an Arctic blast moves south from Canada. NPR's Rebecca Hersher reports a polar vortex will linger after the snow stops falling.
Usually, freezing cold air is trapped up in the polar regions. The jet stream keeps the cold air trapped up there. But when the jet stream gets weaker, cold air can escape south, deep into the continental U.S. That's what's expected to happen next week. Scientists are actively trying to understand whether climate change makes such events more likely. Some studies suggest the jet stream is getting weaker as the Earth warms, while others find no such relationship. What is clear is that polar vortex conditions can be deadly, especially in parts of the country that aren't accustomed to very cold weather. Rebecca Hersher, NPR News.
Activists in Minnesota are calling for a statewide walkout today. NPR's Meg Anderson reports from Minneapolis. They're protesting the federal government's overwhelming immigration operation in the state.
There's a general strike. Organizers are encouraging community members to stay home from work, to not shop or dine out. Many local businesses will be closed. And there are going to be several demonstrations, including a march and a rally in downtown Minneapolis this afternoon. It's also extremely cold here. Afternoon temperatures will be around negative 10 degrees. But given the strong community response we've seen here so far, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people still show up.
NPR's Meg Anderson reporting. Stocks open mixed this morning as natural gas prices backtracked from a winter spike. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped about 230 points in early trading.
Natural gas prices soared earlier this week as forecasters predicted snow, ice, and Arctic temperatures across much of the country. But prices have since fallen back a bit. Natural gas is used to heat nearly half the homes in the country, and it's a major fuel for electricity generation as well. Stock in Intel fell after the chip maker issued a cautious sales forecast. Intel's enjoying strong demand for its computer chips thanks to the artificial intelligence boom, but the company says supply constraints are making it hard to keep up. Japan's central bank held interest rates steady and raised its forecast for both inflation and economic growth. Stocks in Tokyo and elsewhere in Asia were higher overnight. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
There are supposed to be meetings today in the United Arab Emirates about Russia's war in Ukraine. President Trump's envoys met late into the night yesterday with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Russian leader continues to demand that Ukraine give up a lot of territory to stop Russia's war. You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their dining and entertainment card, Savor, What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Matt Harab. The big Arctic storm system we've been expecting is set to arrive this weekend. News 88.7's Tom Perumian looks at what we'll see today and tomorrow to set it up. Good morning, Tom.
And good morning, Matt. We reached out to hydrologist Katie Landry-Guyton with the National Weather Service, who gave us a report on the big storm's opening act.
For Houston, we are expecting basically generalized thunderstorms through Saturday morning that could have isolated hail, brief heavy downpours, and probably gusts to 20 to 45 miles per hour.
Landry-Guyton says showers will continue on Saturday with dropping temperatures turning to freezing rain later on.
All right, stay here. Craig Cohen will take a closer look at what's expected in terms of that precipitation that's just ahead here on Houston Matters. Now, the weather will pose a threat to indoor and outdoor piping. Joe Bainey is the Director of Operations at John Moore Services. He says attic pipes are the most vulnerable to damage.
A few years ago when we had the big freeze in 21, it was mostly attic damage. Multiple breaks in an attic because there was just no insulation up there to help protect the home.
He advises homeowners to prioritize insulating pipes that feed directly into their houses for the weekend. You can be with us this weekend. We'll be live on Sunday beginning at 7 a.m. with the latest from local officials and forecasters during the storm. In other news, applications for Houston ISD's pre-kindergarten school choice program are now open through April 17th. Here's our Bianca Seward.
Families who live in the district can now submit applications to the nearly 160 early childhood education programs in HISD. The full-day programs are open to kids who will be 3 or 4 by September. The options include Montessori and magnet schools, as well as dual-language pathway programs in Spanish, Mandarin, and Arabic. Parents can submit a list ranking up to 10 programs they want their child to attend. If there are not enough seats for interested students, HISD will run a lottery to determine placement. The programs are free to children who are homeless, economically disadvantaged, or part of a military family. Otherwise, tuition is roughly $6,700 for the year. A step-by-step application tutorial is available in English and Spanish on the district's professional development YouTube page. I'm Bianca Seward, News 88.7.
And I'm Matt Harab, News 88.7.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on News 88.7 and YouTube. Coming up this hour, preparing for this weekend's wintry weather, we discuss preparations by the state of Texas as well as Harris and Galveston counties. We'll also welcome your questions for CenterPoint Energy, the area's major electric provider, and the weather even invades this week's the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, though, Houston is indeed bracing for a winter storm this weekend that might bring freezing rain, some icy roads, without a doubt, very cold conditions starting Saturday night. While forecasters have maintained this won't be a repeat of the devastating February 2021 winter storm, a changing forecast has been keeping meteorologists on their toes. That includes the toes of the editor of Space City Weather, Eric Berger, who joins us now. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Craig.
What has changed, first of all, over the last 24 hours in terms of this weekend's forecast?
So the big change has been the delayed onset of the really cold air. So we're pretty confident that Saturday, getting around town through Saturday evening should be, more or less fine. The other kind of big change is that we have now a pretty decent potential for thunderstorms Saturday morning, probably between 9 a.m. and noon time frame. And so that's going to be a little more dynamic, I think, than anticipated. And actually, we could see another round of storms or showers at least passing through on Sunday morning, probably around the same time of day. So we get a little bit of everything, I think, with this system.
Does the rain that falls on Saturday have any impact on whether or not we'll see any freezing rain on Sunday morning stick and hold to our roads a little more significantly or not?
Difficult to say. Here's what I think will happen. I think we're going to get, maybe about an inch of rain, a little bit more, a little bit less on Saturday. Then the afternoon showers, I think, are going to basically dissipate, and we'll have a period where it's unlikely to rain Saturday afternoon. And so I think most roads will drain or dry off. There could still be ponding on the sides of some roads that potentially freezes over Saturday night. Really, the bigger issue is Sunday morning. We're going to see some additional showers, some moderate to potentially even heavy at that time. And the real question then, of course, is what are the temperatures like at sunrise on Sunday and then through the rest of the day? Because it's possible that some of that rain that falls Sunday morning will be freezing, especially for areas like Northwest Harris County, Waller County, Austin County, and Montgomery County. And then it's going to be really a close race during the daytime, because those showers will then exit to the east, by mid to late morning, most likely. And so we're going to see clearing skies and windy conditions on Sunday afternoon, depending on what temperatures do. And for parts of the metro area, I expect them to be above freezing. We're going to see roads dry out, but there will be other areas, certainly more inland, north of I-10, most likely, and potentially, further north, where the roads just, remain icy because it just doesn't get high. The temperature doesn't get high enough on Sunday afternoon.
Okay, so it sounds like we're really primarily concerned with two chunks of time, especially Sunday morning, when whatever precipitation is coming down could be frozen precipitation, which could make roads hazardous. And then it's a question of, depending on where you are, depending on how far above freezing it gets for how long during the day Sunday, by overnight Sunday into Monday, could we see a refreeze and continued bad road conditions? Am I gathering that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. For areas that freeze Sunday morning and then it never gets above freezing, then the ice is just going to stick probably through the day and night into Monday. Other parts of the region where it gets a little warmer will have a chance to dry out, so the roads probably dry potentially on Monday morning. You've always got the caveat of shadowed areas, bridges and overpasses, which are more quick to freeze. So people just really need to make game time decisions and play it by ear. It could be a situation where this is a pretty significant ice storm. I'm thinking certainly for areas along north of Highway 105 in Montgomery County, that's going to be the case. But for Houston and for areas closer to the coast, potentially it's not going to be as bad. And so we're going to have to watch temperatures closely over the next 24 to 48 hours. Wherever you are, is there a window of time you'd point to and you'd say most strongly you'd encourage folks to just stay off the roads for that stretch of time? Yeah, absolutely. Sunday morning will be a really important time to monitor things closely. As I say, temperatures probably will be near freezing or freezing for large parts of the area. We're going to see this second round of showers come through. And if that's freezing rain, that will stick and that will be problematic. And as I say, for part of the metro area, it's probably going to be icy roads. Other parts, it may not. How long will we experience these below freezing temperatures beyond the weekend? Well, I'd love to have an absolute answer for you, Craig, but the model data keeps changing a little bit. Certainly Monday, I'm hopeful. We're going to have clear skies and we're going to get to 35 to 40 degrees. But, there is a world where some parts of the area stay kind of at or below freezing on Monday, particularly further inland areas. And then we're going to get another, so obviously Sunday night, Monday morning, very, very cold. Parts of Houston likely to reach 20 degrees, potentially upper teens. This will be warmer than we saw during the freeze in 2021, but still very cold. And then I expect Monday night to be very cold again. Finally, Tuesday, we're going to be warmer in the 40s, potentially 50s. We keep noting that whatever it is that's coming this weekend is not going to be what it was in February of 2021. I guess, though, we should also note it's not going to be that fun snow day we had last January, right? No, the snow is likely only going to fall in North Texas. This is a pretty shallow, very cold but shallow air mass. It's not really an atmospheric profile where you would get snow. So we are going to see mostly freezing rain. I think there's the potential for some sleet. A few areas very far inland may see some flurries, but this is very much the kind of wintry precipitation you don't want to get if it falls and freezes. And I guess I should point out, it's not just about roads, it's also about power lines and trees. You get ice on trees and branches snap off. They snap off onto power lines, power goes out somewhere. That kind of stuff can cascade a little bit too, right? Absolutely. And so, if you get like a quarter of an inch, and this is not my area of expertise, but my understanding is if you get a quarter of an inch of freezing rain on power lines, if you stretch that over the span, it's basically hundreds of pounds weighing down on lines that can snap. And then, as you say, you can get freezing rain accreting on tree limbs and those falling into power lines. I know a lot of work has been done to trim trees away from power lines in the Houston area, so I'm hopeful that will help. But, we'll see. The main problem we had in 2021, of course, was not so much distribution. It was the generation of energy. We've been watching closely to see what ERCOT says. And I'm looking at that Monday morning period at about 6 a.m. and sort of the amount of reserve that they're showing keeps sinking. So I don't think there'll be widespread power issues, but it's certainly something we're going to have to watch out for.
You mentioned that northern Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area and points north of that even are going to see pretty ample amounts of snow in the next few days. What about other areas of the state of Texas beyond Greater Houston? What are we likely to see and where?
Yeah, I don't know that Dallas is going to see snow. I think they're likely to see freezing rain and sleet as well. I've gotten so many questions this week from Craig who people are going to Dallas for cheer competitions this weekend, and I have to say, the roads up there are going to be really a mess because the temperatures are going to be sub-freezing for a couple of days, and I envision like lots of streets in Dallas being an ice rink. So if you're heading north, you really need to be in place by tonight, and then be prepared to hunker down. It's a little bit different for if you're heading sort of toward Austin or San Antonio. Travel on Saturday to those places probably be fine. Again, by Saturday, late afternoon, evening, you could start to see the potential for freezing rain in Austin and a little bit later in San Antonio as well.
Yeah, there's a Stars hockey game tonight in Dallas, so I can imagine some hockey fans might find themselves enjoying a game and then getting stuck. What else would you suggest to Houstonians in terms of how to prepare over the next 24 hours for, at the very least, the cold that's coming? Because we know that much for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. In these La Nina winters over the last 5 years or so, we've had these really cold snaps, Greg. So I think Houstonians have a fair sense of what to expect, but you've got lots of tropical plants or sensitive vegetation that absolutely needs to be protected. Exterior pipes, sprinkler systems. I think your previous segment was talking a little bit about pipes and attics. Again, all that does need to be insulated, especially when you get temperatures below 25 degrees, which is what we're likely to see certainly on Sunday night into Monday and then Monday night into Tuesday. Both of those nights will be very, very cold with a hard freeze likely for the majority of the region.
Protect people, pets, pipes, and plants. We talk about that a lot. Yes. Eric Berger is meteorologist and editor of Space City Weather. Eric, thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig.
Up next, your questions for Houston's major electricity provider, CenterPoint. You can call 713-440-8870, email talk@houstonmatters.org, and stay with us as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
Hi, I'm Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing Company, proud supporters of Houston Public Media. Right now, with your $60 donation, you can choose tickets to News and Brews. This member-exclusive event takes place February 17th. Enjoy a pint, connect with fellow NPR fans, and meet the Houston Public Media Newsroom in person. Select News and Brews tickets when you donate at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Hour. It's Hello Houston, where Houston talks, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. weekdays here on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Good Reason Houston with the 2025 Houston Public Education Snapshot, tracking how Houston's schools are preparing students today for a living wage tomorrow. Learn more at goodreasonhouston.org.
And from Baylor College of Medicine, with 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor's driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care, push the frontiers of modern science.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. CenterPoint Energy has activated its Emergency Operations Center and mobilized 3,300 workers ready to respond to any possible power outages this weekend. The company's been working to strengthen its infrastructure following widespread criticism and lawsuits after previous severe weather events, and the utility now faces a critical test. Nathan Brownell is CenterPoint's Vice President of Resilience and Capital Delivery and has been overseeing the company's emergency preparedness efforts. He joins us now. Nathan, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Craig.
Sure. As we chat, we welcome your questions for Nathan at 713-440-8870 or talk@houstonmatters.org. How many of these workers are part of your regular workforce, and where are additional workers coming from?
Sure. So I would say around 2,500 would be our normal contingent of workers that we have here day in, day out. The additional resources are coming from off of our system, and they're scattered. So it's not one geographic location. It's really we're acquiring them from all different areas across the United States. As this winter event is coming in, it's impacting a lot of utilities across the state of Texas, Louisiana, and the Midwest. And so we've been coordinating with all those entities to really try to figure out who needs what and make sure we're all ready.
How do you figure out where to deploy folks, where to stage them to be ready to respond?
So it's through a process of, we do some damage estimation based off of potential weather storms that are coming in. So, as Eric had talked about, the areas in Houston that are more susceptible, we've been tracking the same information. We're looking at historical damage impacts from similar weathers. And so based off of that type of data, what we'll do is we'll start to basically place resources in those areas to make sure we can rapidly respond to any potential outage. I will say, though, every area in Houston has a service center for their neighborhoods. We're going to have resources everywhere. So it's not only one area is going to have them, it will be across the whole system.
The potential for ice means a couple of things. First of all, as we were talking about, it can bring tree limbs down on electric wires. Some of those wires themselves can ice over. Other things can happen that lead to localized outages. And then there's another concern, which is the potential for electric substations to freeze, causing larger outages. What steps has CenterPoint taken to address that?
Sure. So this is part of our winter preparation checklist. So I talked about the 3,300 resources here on our system. Some of the things that those crews are doing, they're going out to those substations. They're inspecting the heaters within those transformers, make sure they're ready for the cold weather. They can withstand the icing, so they're all ready to go. We've done enhanced vegetation trimming, so areas that we know are prone to more vegetation risk, we're going out and doing enhanced trimming out in those areas. We're also pre-staging materials across the city to make sure they can quickly grab that material to go to restoration. So there's a list of all types of tactical things we're doing to be ready for this event.
Yeah, some of that I gather includes training, that just things you've been undertaking really since 2024, since Beryl, and let's face it, you're under, I don't have to tell you, increased scrutiny as a result of that. What can you give some examples of the kinds of things that are different now about how you're preparing for storms from what you did pre-2024?
Sure. So I think we've had a lot of lessons learned over since 2024. There have been a lot of feedback around our communications process, whether it was from the outage tool, which now we have a cloud-based outage tool that can handle 3 times the amount of folks that have been there during the events of 2024. So we feel very confident in the outage tool that be able to provide customers a real view of what's happening across the city. We've also brought in an industry-leading expert in emergency preparedness and response and built that organization, including a meteorology team. Since 2024, we've had almost 20,000 hours of training associated with emergency management and training. So teams are much set up better. We've done more in how do we bring on off-system crews to accelerate that process so we can get to outages more quickly. The other big thing that we've done since 2024 is really about hardening our system. We've been talking a lot about the Greater Houston Resiliency Initiative. This is really focused on becoming the most resilient coastal grid in the United States. Recently we announced we installed the 50,000th hardened pole. These are bigger poles that withstand, hurricane winds or icing type of events. We've also, trimmed over 8,000 high-risk vegetation. Just in those 2 alone, that's about 2 years worth of work we've done in about 1.5 years time. And so folks may ask, how is this benefiting me? Well, in 2025, what we've noticed, we had 100 million minutes of outages that were reduced from the year before. And so the things that we're doing in the field are actually making an impact to our customers. And so an average customer is seeing around 30 minutes of less outages last year than the year before. And so this is our commitment. We're really, really focused on our customers. In our mind, any outage is too many for our customers. And so when we look at this storm, we look at it and we take it very seriously. We are prepared, and our commitment to our customers is if you do have an outage, we're going to be working 24/7 to ensure that everybody gets their lights turned back on.
One thing that may be out of your control is the degree of stress on the electric grid statewide when other parts of Texas experience far more intense wintry weather than we will in much of the Houston area. Are you at all concerned that outages or increased demand across the rest of Texas could ultimately lead to a call for controlled outages here?
Sure. So I think that was a lesson learned from, Winter Storm Uri back in 2021 around, the high growth in the state of Texas and the generation shortfall. There's been a lot of work that's been done since then. We're in close coordination with ERCOT on the generation capacity this weekend. At this point, we have no concern that generation is going to be a concern. We expect that the electricity will be ready to serve our customers. It's our job to make sure that our infrastructure stays up, or if we do have an outage, that we can quickly and safely restore power to those customers.
What ultimately is your message then to customers at this moment as we look ahead to the weekend?
Sure. I would say first thing is customers, we are prepared for this weekend. We've learned a lot over the last couple of years. We're excited to be able to show the things that we've done, from hardening our system to be able to communicate to really provide the level of customer service that they expect. Two, I would encourage our customers, if they haven't signed up for Power Alert service, this is a quick and easy and free tool that customers can get real-time information on a potential outage for themselves. So if they have an outage, they'll get customized information of what happened, estimated restoration time, progress throughout the activity. So that's great to get. The third one is really our outage tracker tool that's online. I mentioned it being cloud-based. It really gives customers a more holistic view of how is the whole city of Houston holding up from the event, how's restorations happen, is my outage just localized or is it at neighborhood level? So it's another tool to kind of give more information to our customers.
Nathan Brownell is CenterPoint's Vice President of Resilience and Capital Delivery. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
Just ahead, preparations in Harris and Galveston counties and statewide as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and on video on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel.
You count on Houston Public Media. That's why you're here right now. Take the next step and become a new member today. Every gift makes a difference. And with a gift of $5 a month or more, you'll receive PBS Passport, a member benefit that lets you stream more of the shows you love anytime. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. Join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Lose weight on the trail and the opposite happens, because every cake is justified.
On the next Travel with Rick Steves.
It's tomorrow morning at 6 on News 88.7.
Listen here real soon for an hour, remembering Grateful Dead co-founder Bob Weir. 7 top performances and comments from Grateful Dead historian David Gans.
He was really looking to do something unique every time, and he had a very interesting sense of harmony and rhythm, different from everybody else.
Bob Weir, remembered right here real soon. Saturday evening at 7 on News 88.7.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Ahead of this weekend's wintry weather, Governor Greg Abbott has issued disaster declarations for 134 counties. He's activated the State Operations Center, and the state has opened more than 280 warming centers. Officials in various counties across the greater Houston area will coordinate any needed emergency response. They're preparing roadways. They're asking residents to stay home during the worst of whatever weather has to come. With us now are 3 reporters covering all these preparations: the Texas Newsroom's Lucio Vasquez and Houston Public Media's Sarah Grunau and Julianna Washburn. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Let me start with you, Lucio. Governor Abbott's disaster declarations cover basically the northern 2/3 of the state. What does a disaster declaration actually do, and how does it help the state respond faster than I guess they could when all heck broke loose back in 2021.
Yeah. So it's a lot of counties, about 130, more than 130 counties in total. At a basic level, the disaster declaration allows Texas to move resources, that's personnel, equipment, funding, without waiting for local governments to officially ask for it, right? So that essentially allows DPS, TxDOT crews to be stationed and ready. That's a key difference compared to 2021 when that was not the case.
There's still, as we heard earlier, some uncertainty in the forecast. There seemed to be less uncertainty from Governor Abbott himself. He said, quote, "There is no expectation whatsoever that there's going to be any loss of power from the power grid." Pretty strong statement, right?
Yeah, I'd say state officials are definitely trying to project confidence, right? Since 2021, ERCOT has required power plants and transmission facilities to weatherize their equipment. They've also carried out thousands of inspections to make sure everything's ready for the cold. ERCOT told us as well this week that they expect the grid to meet demand for the coming storm, but there's a difference between the state grid and local power distribution. So while ERCOT is saying that the grid will be in good shape, we still might see some blackouts here when it comes to local power distribution, maybe here in Houston or maybe some of the other larger cities.
I mentioned the warming centers being opened. The National Guard's been deployed. Governor Abbott said TxDOT's pre-treating roadways. How does all of that compare to what went down during the winter storm in 2021?
Yeah, so specifically talking about warming centers, we've got 334 across the state as of right now. Interestingly enough, none of them seem to be in the Houston area, although Houston is opening, I believe, a dozen or so that's going to be run by the city. But to your original question, when it comes to coordination, you've got TxDOT treating the roads, right? You got National Guard on standby for rescues. Emergency management is also coordinating with counties and cities to make sure that everyone's communicating. Again, this was a very different situation back in 2021 where we were all really reacting in real time. And so that led to a lot of systems failing all at once. And so the state is clearly trying to show that they've learned for, this time around.
Sarah Grunau, let's talk about Harris County. You've been following their preparations, in particular comments from the fire marshal, Lori Christensen, who shared how the county is coordinating with surrounding cities. What she had to say?
Yeah, she said that the county is working with other surrounding city leaders on different preparations for the storm. They're making sure that, they're going to be able to get equipment out of their stations. They're also communicating about, how they're going to assure that their critical life safety needs are actually met, especially for vulnerable communities like seniors living in assisted living homes.
How about anticipating specific emergency responses from fire stations themselves? What are you hearing from them about that?
I think we're going to hear a little bit more about that with this coming weekend. The county is also working on opening up some warming centers, so I think we're going to hear some more information about that today and tomorrow.
What about county residents themselves? What are officials saying? What are you hearing or observing? How seriously are folks taking this?
Yeah, I think one big difference with this storm that we're going to see is that, while Winter Storm Uri brought more than 200 consecutive hours of freezing temperatures in some areas of Texas, we're expecting probably about half of that in Harris County this weekend into next week. Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo also said that it's not often that the county faces these winter weather threats. And while the county's not exactly built for winter weather, she said that they know how to get through these types of emergencies, and residents will too.
Yeah, I guess the rarity of it is something we need to remind, in particular, Houstonians who maybe weren't here for 2021 or moved to the area from northern climes the last few years, and they're used to places where there's lots of snow that falls routinely. There's ice storms are common, and so pre-treating roads is no big deal. There's salt trucks everywhere. There's snowplows everywhere. We don't have a lot of that stuff here, do we?
Right. And especially for residents, I don't think there are any residents that are underestimating this storm right now. We've already seen a lot of panic buying at grocery stores in the Houston area, people stocking up on food and water. Harris County officials are also asking residents to prepare for the worst. Judge Hidalgo said that residents should stay off of the roadways starting at 9 p.m. on Saturday. And residents are also urged to prepare their homes by checking batteries and their smoke detectors and preparing their home generators ahead of time as well.
But you can pass on the 32-pack of toilet paper. It's not that. All right, Julianna Washburn, our new Galveston Bureau reporter. Welcome, first of all.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Happy to cover Galveston.
So you've been following preparations in Galveston County, in the city of Galveston. What are you hearing?
So I spoke with Mr. Franklin. He is the emergency operations manager for the city. He told me that they met on Wednesday morning to kind of coordinate what they're going to do, and what they have told me the plan is they're going to be having extra public works employees on call, but also crews working overnight so that they're able to respond to any sort of situation that can happen in a cold weather event, like pipes bursting or leaking. They want to make sure they have the people ready for that. They've also assured me that CenterPoint is going to be ready to go if there are any power outages that occur, and they want others to be prepared as well. We didn't get to use our hurricane kits, thankfully, this past season, so they're asking people to have those on hand and prepare their generators, like Sarah said. So not only will the city be prepared, but the homeowners and people who live there will too.
Yeah, Galveston's in a unique position anytime there's wintry weather. First of all, the latest forecast we heard from Eric Berger suggests maybe things won't be quite so bad down in Galveston. That's good.
Yes.
But among the unique concerns is you got a lot of vacation homes there. So there are a lot of folks who may live somewhere else. They're nowhere near town to be able to reinforce their pipes or to open up cabinets or to set the heat. What are city officials saying about that?
Exactly. Franklin told me he was very concerned about that because, like you said, a lot of people don't live on the island a lot of the year, and they have a home there, especially on the west end of the island. There are a lot of vacation homes. And so he said while the weather is still okay, he's hoping that people could either get down there to take care of their pipes, insulate them, whatever they needed to do, or have somebody else go and take care of them, because we have to think about those homes too. It's maybe not your first thought because you're not there all year, but he was very concerned about that just because it's a huge sector of the island, and he wanted to make sure they were protected too, even if nobody lives there a lot of the year.
The other unique quality of Galveston is that it is not just an island, but a long, thin island, and there's really only a couple of major roads. There's only really one, if we're being honest.
Yes.
It's pretty much Seawall Boulevard for a lot of traffic. Yes. And if it were to receive any kind of ice, if there were any problems there, that could be really hazardous for a lot of people along a long stretch. What are city officials saying about that?
Yes, as someone who drives the seawall every day, I need it open to be able to get across the island. But especially the causeway, too, going from the mainland to the island,
Right.
That gets very backed up. And so they assured me that TxDOT is going to start sanding the causeway starting tonight. But also all other elevated overpasses or main roads are going to be monitored throughout the weekend and prepared as well. So he assured me that those roads will be kept safe throughout the weekend for people traveling, especially those with lots of traffic. And so hopefully that's not something we will have to worry about, especially going down the seawall and needing that open.
We talked about warming centers across the state, and of course the city of Houston's opened up theirs. What about Galveston? What's the plan there?
Okay, so for now, what we have confirmed is Texas City has Northside Baptist Church that's going to be open 24 hours and offering clothing, showers, and hot meals. So that's in Galveston County. We haven't confirmed many others that have opened yet. It seems like some cities haven't opened some yet, but we are going to be updating an ongoing list on the HoustonPublicMedia.org website just to make sure that we have the most updated information. I'm sure we'll see some open throughout the weekend, but for now we have Northside Baptist Church confirmed in Texas City.
That's Julianna Washburn, who covers our Galveston County Bureau. Sarah Grunau keeps track of what's going on in Harris County, and Lucio Vasquez reports for the Texas Newsroom. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for having us.
And still to come, Houston's version of Punxsutawney Phil was spotted Tuesday. We're talking about U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, seen traveling out of state We discuss that and other intrigues in the news on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
To add a layer of rocks, piece of fabric on top of the gravel, some charcoal to help filter in the substrate, the soil, and then you get to plant the plants and put live moss and decorate it however you want. I definitely love touching different textures, and I do find that also just grounds me. It makes me feel happy, even if something's prickly. You know, it's like I see a cactus and I want to just touch it. Or when I'm blending my soils, I do it in a really large bin, and I'm practically diving my entire body into it. My terrariums often can tell a story or a memory into something that I'll start using for components to put into the terrarium, such as the doll parts. The terrarium with the doll arms in it that's playing with the air plant, it comes from different spaces and places that I have experienced being uncomfortable. So the Botanical Sanctuary is my refuge. It's a place for me to feel safe and peace and calm. And when I was younger, I did not have that around me. There was a lot of chaos. And whenever I get into that space and it reminds me of how I felt when I was 4 years old, I just want to be in that safe place. And I want to just play with plants because it brings a lot of serenity and peace. What I want people to take away from purchasing a terrarium or coming in to make a terrarium is the experience. I want them to be able to gain that feeling of peace and serenity and to be able to have that with them whenever they need it. My name is Danielle Reed. I am from Spring Street Studios, and you're listening to Houston Matters with Craig Cohen.
People, pets, pipes, and plants, the 4 Ps to keep in mind when it comes to protection during a big storm. But what about the Ts? Turtles, anyone? As that big winter storm approaches, wildlife rescuers have activated their emergency response plans to safeguard vulnerable coastal wildlife. That story plus a full update on the winter storm statewide and the rest of the day's news on the next Texas Standard.
Top of the hour this morning at 10.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're listening right now. Take the next steps and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference, and what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a few minutes to make a big difference. Join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
A lot can happen in a week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Jack Young, Artistic Director of the Houston Shakespeare Festival and head of the University of Houston's Professional Actor Training Program. Mary Flood, Legal Consultant with Androvet Legal Media and Marketing. And Ernie Manouse, co-host of Hello Houston, which airs weekdays from 11 to 1 here on News 88.7 and YouTube. Jack, Mary, Ernie, welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
Panel, even if you missed all the umpteenth weather forecasts this week, you probably knew in your soul that some sort of bad weather was coming simply because U.S. Senator Ted Cruz has been out of town. As Houston Public Media's Michael Atkinson reported Tuesday, Cruz's office confirmed that, yes, that was him. That was the senator on a plane in a photo spread on social media, not traveling back to Texas, at least not yet. Cruz, Houston Public Media was told, was on pre-planned work travel to California and that he would be back in Texas before this weekend's freezing weather hits. Cruz, you will recall, famously left Texas for Cancun during 2021's deadly winter storm, a move he admitted regretting pretty much immediately, and which he has not lived down among Texans who suffered through days of power outages during the bitter cold. As the Houston Chronicle's Sarah Smith wrote Wednesday, Houstonians have certain rituals when storms approach, from panic buying toilet paper and granola bars at the store to charging phones and battery bricks to Googling, quote, "Where is Ted Cruz right now?" Like a groundhog seeing his shadow, a traveling Senator Cruz portends bad weather ahead. Is this good, bad, or ugly? I ask you, Jack Young.
It is good in this time of uncertainty. There's so many things you can't count on. This is one of those things that you have as a touchstone. If Ted Cruz is leaving town, then the grid is going down. You know it. And so it's all set. And, you know, I'm not sure, we haven't found a way. Somebody's got to do the investigative reporting that has discovered that Ted Cruz actually snuck up to Foxborough and was watching down the tunnel as the Texans melted down, and then might have gotten spied, and then he realized he needed to run. So somewhere at halftime he ran away, and that's how the Texans got back on their pins and managed the second half, sort of. But that he has this cosmic effect, and if we can trust in it and just count on it, then we know. So if Ted Cruz is leaving town, then the grid is going down, and we'll know, and you know to have all the things you need to prep for.
I sense you are conflating Ted Cruz's weather impact, supposed, with his alleged sports impact.
Well, they balance each other out. So one is for positive effect. So you can count on the weather going that way, but you do want to keep him away from the sports teams. So, you know, don't let him in for the Rockets games or the Dynamo or the Astros, but you want to keep him in town so that the weather stays away.
And I guess I should explain for non-sports fans, this is a common assumption out there that when we see him at a given ballpark, what have you, or when he comments in support of a Houston area team, that
the
they tend
team's
to lose
meltdown
or
is
something.
inevitable. It is only a matter of time.
Okay. Good, bad, or ugly? Mary Flood.
I think it's bad, though I appreciate Jack's scientific analysis. But, you know, it's a bad sign when Cruz leaves, just like it's a bad sign when Jim Cantore arrives. And we had both of them for several things, I guess. But and I'm a fan of only one of them, you know, and who doesn't like Jim Cantore? But it's interesting to me that Cruz's destinations, first Cancun, and then during the July floods, he was in Greece, and now Laguna Beach. It makes sense that pretty beaches would be a lure for Cruz. One of my favorite things that's happened here is that AI has done just a fabulous job of turning him into a groundhog. There have been some really strong memes, even better than the ones that had him turning into Grandpa Munster. A guy who he does have kind of a vibe of that, you know, grouchy vampire look as well. So it makes sense that he'd be our red sky at morning guy.
Your reference to Jim Cantore just reminds me of the first year that I was in Houston, and the first time Houston Public Media was establishing their hurricane rideout teams. And, you know, I immediately had in my mind this impression of, oh, no, I'm going to be like a Jim Cantore in the windbreaker lashed to a tree out in the middle of, and as it turns out, I'm pleased to say I was named the vice president in charge of hiding under the desk.
Yay.
That's my job
Yay.
during such storms.
And usually we still tie you to a tree out in the yard.
For completely different reasons.
Yes.
Good, bad, or ugly, Ernie Manouse.
It's probably good. I mean, where did he go? Was it Davos? No. The Hague? The House of... No. Laguna Beach, where important work is being done, so he needs to be there. I kind of think like a groundhog, if we see his shadow back in Houston by Sunday, then we have 6 more days of normal weather. So that's
Okay. All right. Well done. You've taken on the metaphor. I appreciate
Would a
it.
cardboard cutout help maybe for this shot? No.
Is there a difference? Just joking.
Wow. All right. Moving on. Panel. Conroe ISD's Board of Trustees Tuesday upheld a grievance that will keep the children's book I Am Billie Jean King out of grade school libraries because the biography mentions that the tennis legend is gay and in a same-sex marriage. As Houston Public Media's Catherine Dominguez reported this week, the complaint was filed back in October. A new state law requires the board to act within 90 days of such a challenge. The book, written by Brad Meltzer, is part of his Ordinary People Change the World series, which also features biographies of, among others, Simone Biles, Teddy Roosevelt, the Beatles, Rosa Parks, and Mr. Rogers. I Am Billie Jean King focuses on King's fight against sexism in tennis, including her 1973 Battle of the Sexes victory over Bobby Riggs at the Astrodome here in Houston. A book about Billie Jean King will remain out of Conroe ISD elementary school libraries because it mentions her sexuality. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Mary.
It's ugly, Craig. And this whole trend of censoring books in libraries at schools especially is really ugly. It's diminishing our education. It's narrowing the perspective of students. And it's usually a minority that wants the censorship, just like putting the 10 Commandments in classes. It's one religion, and in this case, because it's the Protestant version, it's a sect of one religion that we're doing. And the other thing that no Billie Jean King book pushes that it hurts LGBTQ kids who've got two mommies or two daddies. It sort of starts hate early. She was a hero of mine. I was captain of the girls' tennis team in high school. I did not get a jacket, but which is I'm not over.
Yeah, I could tell.
But it wasn't just all her Wimbledon wins. I mean, she was an icon for equal pay for women, for women's rights, for LGBTQ rights. She was amazing, and she was important even before she took down Bobby Riggs, which was hilarious and fun. But I love the libraries who have put up banned books that you can get online. It's pretty spectacular, and it's so ironic, some of the stuff that they do ban, like 1984, a book about anti-totalitarianism and anti-censorship. It's sort of like going out and burning Fahrenheit 451.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly. Ernie Manouse.
Oh, I'm going for ugly. Censorship, never a big fan of that. Also, you may not like history, but you do have a duty to yourself to understand it. So you may not like the fact of who Billie Jean King is, that she is a lesbian. It's part of the story. We can't just keep parsing out things we like or don't like. And so if we don't like a part of this story, toss the whole book, because now there's no reason that people should know this story. So we need to look at ourselves, examine ourselves, and what we're doing in today's day and age when it comes to remembering our past. The place where I have a problem is the title of the book series, which is Ordinary People Change the World. And then you look at the list of people. These are far from ordinary people. Every one of these people are extraordinary people. I get it. I'm saying it in jest, but the fact is, these are all people to be celebrated and to know their stories. And it's not a series of books people who all live lives that you find objectionable. It's a series of people who have all done extraordinary things, and each one's going to bring a different life experience to it. Read all of the books. Learn about the full rainbow of people out there. So, yeah, this is ugly.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly, Jack.
I'll make it a solid unanimous ugly. To Ernie's point, just because you don't want to talk about it doesn't make it go away. Mm-hmm. And even for the folks who aren't LGBTQ, when your classmate's parent shows up, and then your classmate's other parent shows up, and both of them are the same gender, that may be a puzzling thing for a half breath. And then there's a book on the shelf that goes, oh yeah, that goes. That works. So just because the book isn't on the shelf doesn't mean the life doesn't exist then or now. And it might not have been as prevalent in Billie Jean King's time as a person that might have been a parent, but it is now. And it's not like it isn't on television. Like, I take it out of the library, and the kids can see this in the magazines, on television, walking the runways, that these folks are out and walking around, and not a puzzlement of, wait, how did that happen? Oh, it's been happening all along. It's not just now, it's been.
It is also one less sports biography in a grade school library. I bring this up as a kid who read a little bit, but voraciously read every single hockey biography by Stan Fischler that was in my Conway grade school library. That was my way into reading more and more. So you don't want to have that section being smaller and smaller. It probably might cause some students not to read as much.
Yes, every hook that we can to get somebody to read a book.
Yeah, that's exactly what my sports writer's significant other, David Barron, said. Is he said, what were really important to me at that age were the sports bios. And taking hers away took something away from him as well, or would have.
Right.
With that said, Fischler wrote a lot about Boston Bruins, and I wish he had spent a little more time paying attention to some of the other teams.
Oh.
Panel, the La Mesa branch of the San Diego County Library in California recently received an overdue library book nearly 46 years after it was checked out.
So great.
As KUSI News in San Diego reported last week, the book arrived anonymously through the mail with a short note attached that read, "Sorry, this is so late." Where has it been for 4.5 decades? No one knows, which seems appropriate since the book in question is Sheila Burnford's The Incredible Journey, a children's book about 3 pets searching the Canadian wilderness for their owners. You may remember a 90s Disney film adaptation called Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey. It was pretty popular. According to La Mesa manager Cassie Colduin, the book was even returned to the very branch that it was first checked out from, even though the library itself had since changed addresses. And before you ask, no, even if she knew who returned it, she is not charging a late fee. Someone returned an overdue library book more than 45 years after it was checked out. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Ernie.
This is great. It's beyond good. It's wonderful. But I do want to know, what would the late fee have been?
Oh, my God. Compounding interest. Compounding interest.
Yeah, about $1.50 probably.
$1.50, yeah, 3 cents a day until you get it's crazy. It's great. I hate to admit, probably if you went back through my childhood home, there's probably a couple overdue library books still there, too. I was very bad at remembering to return books. But I love it. I love the story. I love the idea of it. I still have, I may have told you this before, Craig, I still have my thank you notes from my high school graduation. I wrote them all out. I addressed them, I stamped them, and I never went the next step of throwing them in the mailbox. And a few years ago, I thought, wouldn't it be funny to send them now
You
and
should.
just see what happens?
See if any of them arrive anywhere.
Yes, well, no forever stamps on them. They won't.
I went through the list.
too.
It was, kind of
They don't
sad.
postage because you don't. We
Right,
probably
I'd
didn't
have
have
to up
forever
those
stamps on
stamps.
it.
Yeah. Unless I had forever stamps.
No,
then it
not
would still
that.
be good.
Good, bad, or ugly, Jack?
Brilliant, amazing, tremendous, lovely, poetic in its own way that it's that book that finally found its way back. But I'm envisioning some grandpa that read the book to his grandchildren, who are now grandparents, who discovered the book and went, "Oh, Grandpa didn't send this book back, and I should probably send that back." So some other grandparent can read it to their grandchild and keep it going. We're citizens, not customers. And if you remember you're a citizen, you owe these things back that it keeps in circulation. So I think it's lovely.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly,
I
Mary?
agree. It's really good. I grew up revering libraries and thinking they were a sacred space. My mother, who had read all the fiction in our little suburb of Syracuse's library, when we went every weekend, the librarian would be so excited to see her and tell her about the new books. I don't know when she did all this reading, but anyway. And, librarians are almost always like that. They're really excited to help you. They want to help you. They'll go beyond the pale to help you. And not a surprise to me that this librarian was so pleased, but I agree with you. This is from some boomer's closet. There's just no question. No question. But the only time I've ever seen somebody from the library represented being mean was in a Seinfeld episode when he hadn't returned a Henry Miller book, and they sent this guy in an Inspector Gadget raincoat to get the money from him and get the book, which that is not who was doing this one, which is great.
The one thing that I think could bring all of these topics together is if Ted Cruz had flown to Laguna Beach to return a library book about Billie Jean King.
That seems so possible. That's,
Wouldn't that have been wonderful?
But then the weather would go bad.
Jack Young is Artistic Director of the Houston Shakespeare Festival and head of the University of Houston's Professional Actor Training Program. Mary Flood's a legal consultant with Androvet Legal Media and Marketing. Ernie Manouse co-hosts our Hello Houston program weekdays from 11 to 1. Jack, Mary, Ernie, thank you all very much.
Y'all stay warm.
Stay warm. And that will do it for today's show. The Houston Matters team includes Michael Haggerty, Joshua Zinn, Brenda Valdivia, Mincho Jacob, and Laura Walker. Jared Carroll's our technical director. On Monday's show, we will discuss whatever residual freezing weather remains. We will also mark the centennial of the world's first public demonstration of live television. We'll discuss Houston's TV history and landscape with Chris Ulasi, interim dean and radio, TV, and film chair at Texas Southern University. Plus, former Astro Carlos Beltran's Hall of Fame bound. He was also a major figure in the Astros electronic sign stealing scandal. Is his impending induction a sign that, at least in the eyes of Hall of Fame voters, that hand-wringing over that scandal is coming to an end? And does it suggest, when the time comes, Jose Altuve and maybe other Astros will have an easier path to the Hall? We will discuss. I'm Craig Cohen. Remember to stay tuned to News 88.7 all weekend long for the very latest on whatever kind of weather we get, and do your best to stay off the roads, especially Sunday morning. Then otherwise, have a great weekend and join us Monday for those and other Houston Matters.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Baylor College of Medicine. With 125 years of